We'll get started. Education Network, we're going to start. Before we begin our scheduled meetings today, Superintendent Fenoy would like to make some preliminary comments. Dr. Fenoy.
Yes, so well, good afternoon, everyone, and good afternoon to the community. I felt like it was absolutely important for me to make comments today prior to the start of the board meeting in reference to the killing of Mr. George Floyd. And you know, as over the last 2 weeks, as I have processed this reality, it has become clear to me that, you know, in my role as the superintendent of the 10th largest school district in the country, there are certain responsibilities that I bear to be a catalyst for change. But I also believe that in this moment, I, for the first time in my career, need to be fully honest around my experiences as a Black man in America, especially with the reality of the duality that I possess, meaning walking in multiple worlds. For me, I am a highly accomplished, very successful young Black man. My sisters do not enjoy the same privileges that I have, and so I want to just talk about the realities of who I am through my experience as a father. And so I can tell you right now that I am hurt. I am devastated. I am scared. I am a lot of things that I really have never really articulated. But this community was first introduced to me. Well, I purposely introduced myself to this community through the lens of my child, my son, Donald Everett Fenoy III, who many of you saw hold the Bible when I was sworn in after this board took a chance on me. But what you don't know about me are all the decisions that I live with daily as it relates to raising this young man who's getting bigger and bigger every single day. And I think the journey to help people understand why this is so traumatic. So being who I have not always been this well-polished, suit-wearing person. I was a child like everyone else. And as a child, you make mistakes and you grow up. Things happen. Unfortunately, you know, based on generational issues, I was taught to endure certain things and just push forward. But now I'm at a place where something more must happen. Other day, Bob Hatcher, one of our amazing principals, was on a call with me and he said, Dr. Fenoy, the other day when you came by my house, you brought your son. He was cooking some food. And he said, when Mr. Floyd's situation occurred, he was talking to his children and his thought was, how is Dr. Fenoy going to talk to his son about the killing of George Floyd? First of all, I was proud of him for even acknowledging that my conversation will be different. But let me say this, what you don't know is that this is a constant, continuous, for the 11 years since the day he was born, worrying about him. So being a privileged man, I have taken the choice to protect my children as much as I can from the very harsh realities of this world. I bought a home considering simple facts. So let me share this with you and bear with me. Every day I ask my son to go to the mailbox, either ride his bike or I take him up there. And I sit in the car with him and I say, Donald, when you go to that mailbox, because in our neighborhood, it's an essential location. It's not at our homes. I say, I need you to be respectful. I need you to speak to people. I need you to open doors. So the vast majority of American society will say, those are good things that you should teach your children. But what I never shared with him, and I'm sharing for the first time, is not just because I want him to be polite and have pleasing behaviors that make everyone else comfortable. Honestly, it's so that when he walks around my neighborhood by himself, someone will not call the police on him because he doesn't look like he belongs there. People will identify him as someone who belongs in that community so that I can have some sort of peace to know that he can go ride his bike and someone will see this boy who they've seen repeatedly and they won't be afraid. Because I did not want my children to grow up in a world like I do, which I'm a big man, I'm an overweight man. And so the fact that every morning when I get up to go outside and walk, I'm conscious of, do I wear a hoodie sweatshirt because it's dark outside? And I might walk up on my neighbors who are walking and they don't recognize me and they call the police. Or people get scared of me because I'm 6'4" and black and I don't have my suit on. And maybe you saw the tattoo on my leg. I don't know. But I live in constant fear of offending other people or triggering something in other people to call the police on me. You know, I'm not going to go into the details around the instances that I've been in the course of my life. You know, my mother reminds me of those things, and that's for another day. But today, I realized something very powerful. So in this protection of my child, again, we're all dealing with distance learning. And so he's been immersed in that world. He's also from a different generation. When he watches television, he watches what he wants to watch. And so does my 4-year-old daughter. So they hadn't been paying attention to George Floyd. So I made him do that earlier this week. And we talked right before this meeting. He was here in my office. And I said, Donald, what do you think? Because we've never had this conversation. And he said, well, the first thing I thought was, what would we do as a family if you are killed? And what am I supposed to do with that? What am I supposed to do with that? He also went on to talk about all the other men in our family. But here's the thing that I find powerful about his statement. He said, I hope people like you in power don't abuse your power. I hope people like you in power make changes for the better. And you know what I said to him? So that I began to explain to him why I'm so hard on him about being respectful. Because you know what, ladies and gentlemen, you know what I want the most? I want my child to survive the encounter. I want him to come home so that if something happens, I can call the attorneys. I can call my friends at the sheriff's office or my own chief. But even that statement alone is chock filled with so much privilege because there's so many other people that don't have the opportunity to call the sheriff or contact an attorney. And so even that's what makes me feel so torn at times because I do want my child to survive the encounter and come home. And so for me, in this position of power, I have this intense obligation, and I think all of us do. And so for every parent out there, for every person who is struggling, every white person who wants to know how I fix this, how I help, I feel like I'm taking a chance today for the first time in my career, sharing with people publicly how I live my life outside of the image that I allow you to see. And so I say, as we move forward, that this particular district has, thanks to many of our board members, Dr. Robertson in particular, has fought the good fight for a long time. But there comes a point where you have to start doing something. And so I'm committed as a superintendent to doing something. And we will work through that. But I just want everyone to know that there are a lot of people like me that are not okay. They're just not. And I think I want to give people who look like me the permission to at least say that for once in their life, to literally have an honest conversation around your fears and your anxieties. Someone like me is always being charged with being strong for everyone. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not strong. I can't be strong 24 hours a day, and neither can you. And so I hope that we don't just take this as another dead black man in America and move on with our lives. I hope, you know, to our students that are out there peacefully protesting, I need you to survive the encounter. I need you to come home. I will never endorse breaking laws and destroying property. But to our children, I understand. We raised them to live in this utopian world where we all get along. But I don't know if the adults, well, I know the adults in this country have not lived up to that promise. And so I challenge all of us to figure this thing out, push, be courageous, and hopefully put our children in a better position to do better than us. And so I just appreciate the opportunity, Mr. Chairman, and the entire board for you believing in me, supporting me. But I do want you to know that daily, in spite of my position, my power, my privilege, I do operate in this world as a scared human being. Thank you, Mr. Barbieri.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Dr. Fenoy, for sharing your personal perspective with us. As a district, as we consider the horrific attacks on George Floyd and demand justice, we must remain committed to addressing the underlying racism which continues in our country and in our community. As a school district, we must double down to ensure that all of our efforts are focused on racial justice, not only in these times of extreme brutality, but every single day. For parents who are struggling about how to speak with your children about racism, I encourage you to look at some of the district's website at palmbeachschools.org. There's actually a link there on that website for parents, both white and black parents, to get some help on how to address these issues with their own children. Mrs. Brill.
Thank you, Mr. Barbieri. And I was going to make some comments during our time to comment, but it's appropriate to say something now. And I really want to thank Dr. Fenoy for his heartfelt comments and bringing us into the reality of what this is like for him and his family and others. But I do want to share with you that I read an article in Education Week on Monday by Larry Furzalo, and he asked, what hard truths do teachers, administrators, and policymakers have to confront to remedy the issues that George Floyd's death highlight? He continues saying that silence in the face of systemic racism and oppression is no different from the police officers who stood idly by while Mr. Floyd pled for his life. We must be anti-racist. We must confront, name, and actively dismantle a system that benefits some but marginalizes others. And yes, this is something that Dr. Robinson has brought to us over the years. And yes, we have started to embrace that, but we have to do so much more. So I personally look forward to our discussions in the weeks ahead on how we will reopen the schools, but even more so, I look forward to future conversations about systemic racism and truly achieving equity in our schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Brill. Mrs. Andrews.
Thank you. And we are a member of the Council of Great City Schools. And as you have seen the protests in our large urban states where our urban school district reside, we have a letter, I think you all received it, from Michael Casserly, the Executive Director of the Council of Great City Schools. It's expressing my concerns, my pain, and my sadness. And I'd like to share that letter publicly with the public and with my fellow board members. It says, the killing of George Floyd. This time it was George Floyd. Last time it was Ahmaud Arbery. Before that, Breonna Taylor, and so many others. Different names, different cities, but in every case, the underlying racism and ugliness are the same and will remain the same without dramatic changes to our institutions that address the conditions that allowed this killing to happen. This time, it was the police who was caught in the crosshairs of public attention. But that sickening cell phone footage only captured a small piece of a larger picture, a vignette in the ongoing story of injustice and racism that is in our nation's history and our current reality. Mortality statistics under COVID-19 remind us that the same patterns of injustice and inequity extend to healthcare, housing, and to us in education. As we rise to meet the challenges of the current health crisis, to teach children remotely, feed our families, provide internet access, address the mental health of our youth, and fight budget cuts, let us, the leaders of our nation's urban public schools, amplify our efforts to meet this challenge too. this enduring, defining challenge of our time, let us ensure that our schools are safe havens where all children are respected and nurtured, where all children can achieve and grow, and where all children are guaranteed equity and justice. The nation's urban public schools offer our full-throated condemnation of the killing and the racism behind it, and we vow to redouble our efforts to ensure racial justice is the center of everything we do. And as a school board member representing Palm Beach County, we all must fight for justice, for equity for all. And we have to acknowledge what is real, what's been real for many in our communities all over this country for over 400 years. And we must take action to problem solve, to eradicate this nasty, nasty disease that impacts the United States of America. I'm sad today. I'm happy today to see all of the country coming together and letting the people of the United States of America, our leaders, as well as our friends, know that we will not tolerate this anymore. And I'm so proud of the young people that I see protesting and standing up for the rights, but it goes really deep, and we have a lot of work to do from the educational standpoint. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brandon. If other board members want to comment, you can either do it now or you can wait until we get to the comment section. There's actually a comment section in the second meeting that we have on the agenda today, but I see Mrs. McQuinn, so go ahead, Mrs. McQuinn. You need a microphone, Mrs. McQuinn.
Go at the bottom. Okay, thank you. And just letting you know that I'm saving my comments for the comment time.
Thank you, Mrs. McQuinn. If there are no other comments at this time, we'll get started. Today, the board will participate in 3 virtual special meetings. This first meeting is being held to handle expulsions. Following this meeting, we will convene a special meeting dealing with board policies and to cover board discussion items. And a third meeting today will be a special meeting to move forward with the next steps in hiring of an Inspector General to succeed Mr. Chu, who is leaving us for what we hope will be a long, healthy, and happy retirement. All 3 meetings today will be conducted using Google Meet technology for board members and staff who are participating live. Viewers and listeners can access the meetings today by either watching on Comcast channel 235 or by using the YouTube link on our webpage at palmbeachschools.org. We also offer a listening only option, which the public can access by calling 561-357-5900 or toll free at 1-866-930-7015. The meeting ID is 1-561-880-1124 #. I now call the special meeting of the School Board of Palm Beach County to order at 1:20 p.m. on June 3rd, 2020. Mrs. Bass, will you please call the roll?
District 1, Barbara McQuinn.
Here.
District 2, Chuck Shaw.
Here.
District 3, Karen Brill.
Here.
District 4, Erica Whitfield.
Here.
District 5, Frank Barbieri.
Here.
District 6, Marsha Andrews.
Here.
District 7, Deborah Robinson.
Here.
All right, we have all 7 board members present, so we have a quorum. Also joining us today virtually is Dr. Donald Panoy, our superintendent, our general counsel Julianne Rico, Inspector General Lung Chu, and our board clerk Carol Bass. Senior staff members will join us periodically as directed by the superintendent. This meeting is being transcribed by a closed captioner, so remember to speak at a reasonable pace. Now, if you would please direct your attention to the flag on the screen. And as soon as that screen comes up, Dr. Fenoy, if you would lead us in the pledge, and all others, would you please keep your mic on mute while we say the pledge?
Yes, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There I am. I disappeared off the screen for a minute, so I wasn't sure I was still with you all. I think we're getting very good at handling these virtual meetings. However, just a quick review of our meeting protocol. Try and remember, I know it's tough sometimes, if you are not speaking, please try and turn your microphones back off because we get that audio feedback. And sometimes you don't even realize we're getting the feedback because you're the one that has the microphone on. So please try and remember to check your microphones when you're done speaking, to click them off. Please raise your hand to get my attention if you want to speak, and I certainly will call on you in the order that I see your hands. I'll nod my head to know that, so you know that I saw you put your hand up. If you need to step away from the meeting for a moment, please turn off your camera. This will let us all know that you stepped away, although we know that you can still hear what is happening at the meeting. So at this point, we'll get into the agenda for the special meeting on expulsions. Mr. Superintendent, do you have any items to withdraw?
Mr. Chairman, I have nothing to withdraw at this time. No, I'm so sorry. I do. P8, expulsions of student 1920X043. I apologize.
Thank you, Dr. Fenoy. Any board members want to pull anything from the consent agenda? Seeing none, we need a motion to approve the consent agenda. Motion by Mrs. Whitfield, second by Mrs. McQuinn. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Are there any disclosures or abstentions? Mrs. Bass, do we have any agenda item speakers today?
There are no speakers today.
We need a motion then to approve the consent agenda. Motion by Mrs. Whitfield, seconded by Mrs. Brill. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. We need a motion to, Dr. Robinson, go ahead.
Yes, I just want to make this point, this observation. Each and every one of the students recommended for expulsion, on the forms, it noted that they were not involved in extracurricular activities. So we need to put that in our collective plans for how we move forward in an equitable manner. If we want to save children, we need to make sure that they are engaged in school.
Thank you, Dr. Robinson. There are no other comments. We need a motion to adjourn. I think that motion was already made. All in favor? Opposed? That meeting is adjourned.